We've talked about the digital world a few times now. I want to think about digital biases, specifically digital biases from the standpoint of authoring. And I think of Substack.
Mhm.
And I think in general, I'm finding that people are underreporting their use of AI tools because of something you explore in the book, which is the social desirability bias. But to me, if someone asks you if you're using AI to help with your writing and someone answers no, it's almost unbelievable to me because if you're using a Google search or literally any technology that's out there
Mhm.
today, all of it is underpinned by different AI frameworks. So arbitrarily, you are using it in almost any research that you're doing. But what do you think it reveals about how humans perceive technology's role in their competence or their creativity?
I think so. I have a paper about this on AI and social desirability bias. So we run a study in at the large university, asking students about their AI use. And when you ask them how much do you use AI ever, right? The answer is like 63%. And you might think, wow, that's low. Most students, I think, are using AI. And it turns out if you ask a slightly different question, and this is using techniques from psychology in order to overcome social desirability bias, you ask not whether you use AI, you ask whether your friends use AI. Now, social desirability bias isn't really affected because it's not me. You're asking about my friends, and that number is 95%. So that gap between 95% and 60 something percent, that is the gap that people are misreporting their AI use. Essentially, and we've collected other data to confirm that the gap it's underreporting versus overreporting in one condition versus the other. So this is something that's going to be a challenge for companies, for policymakers, especially for educators. So this is a space that I'm very interested in from a both a personal perspective. I'm a teacher, but also from a policy perspective in terms of like how do we think about university or higher ed in the age of AI? Obviously, we can't say never use AI, become a Luddite,
Yeah.
but also we want people to use AI in a way that helps them to learn something. So they retain some information, but they also learn how to use these tools in an effective way that's going to help them when they exit the university. And that kind of cost benefit is something that conversation is happening right now, but it needs to happen faster.
Yeah, I can't remember if I was talking to Bobby Parmar or Judd Kessler, but one of them was telling me in their class that I've understood that the papers that they're getting back are progressively getting better and better because it's obvious students are using AI to help them write them. But I wish I remembered which one told me this, but what they were doing in their class was taking it to another level. So they were making them come in front of the class to show the application of what they researched to make sure that they were retaining what they were writing about. And they were telling me that it really showed a huge difference between who was actually retaining and using the information versus who was just using the AI tools. Because I know I find myself when I'm using them a lot, I'm not retaining as much about the work that I'm doing as compared to when I'm doing a whole bunch of research and then having to write it on my own.
There's great research about this. Shari Malamed, who's Judd's colleague at Wharton, shows that if you do research through AI versus just Googling it, so you have access to Google, which is also uses AI, but in a different way, versus LLMs to help you research a topic, you just simply retain more information when even though you're reading the same information. When you search for it yourself and parse through it, the way that our brain works is to retain the information between the pauses. So, like when you're reading a book versus you get the Spark Notes from a book, right? Why did we discourage Spark Notes like in 30 years ago, 20 years ago when I was in school? The information is the same, but the process of reading the book, the text, and pausing, flipping back and forth, all of that is part of learning, but it's discounted because it doesn't seem like that's not where the information is. And that process is really, there's we need to be very explicit about what actual learning looks like in order for the broader population to understand that AI is an incredible technology, but reading Winner's Curse by saying what is in the Winner's Curse, give me a paragraph summary, versus actually reading the book, you're going to retain something very different.
Yeah, absolutely.